welcome to another edition of the Focus TV. It's season 5, episode 54. Joined by Octavia Wyatt, Raymond Lyons, Cardo Dudley Jr. I'm Wilson Tarbert Jr. Again, welcome to the Focus TV. Quite a bit to get through this week. As always, we're going to get started with the NFC East. Then we're going to talk some Wizards, let you guys know what they've been up to lately. Just in case you don't subscribe to us over on, follow us on a regular basis with Wizards Outlook. Got some college basketball to discuss. Now for 9-4-50 breakdown, then obviously going to end things with rapid fire. That said, Octavia, what happened in your crazy division this week?
Man, they still going crazy. It's ridiculous. So I'll go ahead and start. Another week in the NFC East, I guess I can go ahead and say it now. It's kind of getting a little ridiculous. As of now, which is even crazier, is all 4 teams are in the playoffs. That's just wild. Like, I never thought that would probably ever happen, but the fact that it's actually a possibility. Now, of course, I don't honestly think all 4 will go, but just the fact that at this point of the time during the season, they are all currently scheduled to go to the playoffs. But I'll start with the first game that happened this week. We had a Thanksgiving Day game for the NFC East. It was the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants, and the Dallas Cowboys were victorious. That's the word I was looking for. They defeated the Giants 28-20. For the Cowboys, Dak Prescott was 21 of 30, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, and 2 carries for 4 yards. Ezekiel Elliott has 16 carries for 92 yards and 1 touchdown and 1 reception for 3 yards. CeeDee Lamb had 6 receptions for 106 yards, 2 carries for 11 yards. Dalton Schultz had 4 receptions for 31 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Peyton Hendershot had 1 carry for 2 yards and 1 touchdown. On the other side of the ball, we had Daniel Jones at 21 of 35, 228 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 carries for 14 yards. Saquon Barkley had 11 carries for 39 yards and 1 touchdown and 4 receptions for 13 yards. And Richie James Jr., 3 receptions for 41 yards and 1 touchdown. I feel like the score makes it seem like it was a lot closer. And I'll be honest, it kind of was in the first half. All the things that you weren't really expecting to happen were kind of the things that happened in the first half, in my opinion. Dak has gotten a lot better with his decision making, so he did throw 2 interceptions in the first half that I thought was kind of uncharacteristic of him, especially because we know that the Giants defense is rattled with injuries. Their whole team, as of sort, is rattled with injuries. So I was kind of surprised that they were even able to get that off of Dak, to be completely honest. But they played them hard in the first half. I think, again, I feel like every time it's a division game, it's always a toss-up, even when teams are bad or when teams are good. We just always seem to play each other really, really hard. And that's kind of what it came out the gate, with them. It's just for the Giants, the injuries are becoming harder and harder for them to overcome. As we talked about already all this year, they don't have a lot of talent or depth on their team. If Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley's not playing well, it's going to be super hard for them to win a game, and that's kind of what happened in this game. Saquon is one of the top 5 rushers of the season so far, and one thing that we talked about for Dallas is their run defense. Their run defense actually kept him in check. He had 11 carries for 39 yards, and he's been carrying the ball for 30 times this year in some games. So I was surprised he didn't get the ball more, but he just wasn't really getting any traction. So they had to try to go elsewhere. But for their wide receivers, tight ends, they don't have enough talent. Darius Slayton was probably their number 1, and he didn't even have a great game this game as well. So it's just harder and harder for them to do that. The Giants' strength, of course, is running the ball with Saquon. They were top in the league in rushing after 7 games. In their last 4 games, they've rushed for under 90 yards 3 times, and they've lost all those games. So when they're not able to rush the ball, they're not going to win the game. For the second straight week, their defense didn't record any sacks. So they didn't even get to Dak as well. And also, I do believe that the Cowboys' offensive line is playing a lot better than a lot of people predicted that they would this year. They were able to, pretty much all year. I don't really feel like Dak has really got sacked that much this year. Also for the Giants, for the 7th time in their 11 games this season, they scored 21 or fewer points, which was okay when their defense was playing well. But their defense, again, ravaged with injuries. That's not going to cut it, but that's really all they've been able to do. Again, they played hard in the first half. They were up 13-7 at halftime. But the Cowboys came out at halftime and just shut them down, and it was pretty much over from there. I mean, the Giants went 3-11 on third downs and 0-2 on fourth downs, and the Cowboys went 7-11 on third downs. I feel like that always tells you kind of how the game goes, who can stay on the field, and as far as offense, and who can't get off the field as far as defense. CeeDee Lamb, I mean, the big thing again coming into the season is, can he be a number one? He's showing he could be a number one. There was an iffy play because he should have a touchdown, with his stats. But as we know, things that they see and how they interpret things are how they interpret things. But he set up pretty much every touchdown that they scored, with a big catch. He set up a lot of the touchdowns for the tight ends, Hendershot and Schultz, who had 2 touchdowns. So their tight ends are actually starting to come on as well, which is, it can only get better from them. The only thing I was missing from this game was Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard is a great running back, but Zeke was able to shoulder the load, 16 carries, 92 yards. So all in all, I mean, I think the Dallas Cowboys had a really good game. They distanced themselves a little bit from the Giants, and for the Giants, it's going to be a lot harder going forward. Their schedule actually gets a lot more tougher than Dallas or pretty much anybody else really in the NFC East. So with them right now, the team I'm going to talk about next is a half game behind them. So it's going to be real tough for the Giants to kind of pull it through. Cowboys are going to play next Sunday night against the Colts, who they like to run the ball too. So their run defense is going to be tested again. And then the Giants play on Sunday against the Washington Commanders. So that leads me to the Washington Commanders, who played the Atlanta Falcons, and they defeated the Falcons 19-13. Tyler Heineke was 14 of 23, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception, 1 carry for -1 yards. Brian Robinson Jr. had 18 carries for 105 yards, 2 receptions for 20 yards, and 1 touchdown. Terry McLaurin had 4 receptions for 48 yards, and John Bates had 3 receptions, 24 yards, and 1 touchdown. Robinson Jr., who I feel like I've talked about pretty much a lot this year when it comes to the backfield for the Commanders between Brian Robinson Jr. and Antonio Gibson. Robinson Jr. rushed for over 100 yards for the first time in his young career. And I just don't think it's stated enough how this man got shot in his leg like less than 4 months ago and is running all over people. I mean, he powered through a lot of Atlanta defenders throughout this game and showed them no mercy. As much as it's been kind of even with him and Antonio Gibson as far as carries and reps, he doubled him in carries this week with 18, and Antonio Gibson had 9. But I do believe they'll still kind of play off of each other. I just think it depends on who has the hot hand. And in this game, I believe that Brian Robinson Jr. had the hot hand, and he was running people over. Washington is 2 games over 500 for the first time since 2018. So that is an accomplishment in itself. And as the season continues, they are poised to take over the Giants. Like I said, they're a half game back from the Giants. They still play the Giants. I think they played them twice. I got to look it up. If not twice, I know at least once next week. So they have a really good chance, if they're able to continue what they're doing. Their defense, I think, is the biggest thing for them. Their defense is playing super well. Darren Payne, Jonathan Allen. I mean, even the pick at the end of the game to seal basically the win with Atlanta, threatening to score with the tip by, I believe it was Payne, and intercepted by Kendall Fuller in the end zone. I mean, it just shows you how much their defense has come to play. And, they still have things left. Chase Young still didn't play. So still working to see how that will look when he gets into the game after the ACL injury last year. The only things that I'm concerned about really with them are how much rope does Heineke have. As much as we used to talk about when Fitzpatrick came, Fitzmagic and everything like that, it's kind of the same feel that you have with Taylor Heineke, but I don't think, granted, we didn't really get to see Fitzpatrick play at all when he came as a Commander. Taylor Heineke just gives you that spark. You can tell that his teammates like him. You can tell they rally around him. They play hard for him. But I still believe he's an average quarterback. Is his average quarterbacking going to be enough to really push them through? Will they ever turn it back over to Carson Wentz? I'm still waiting to see what happens. But, he has some good games. He has some good throws, and then he has some really bad throws that make you be like, okay, what are we doing here again? So is it going to be enough for them to sneak into the playoffs? And if they do sneak into the playoffs, you would assume they're a 7 seed. And they're going against the 2 seed in the NFC. It could be anybody between, I'll be honest, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the 49ers, the Vikings. And I believe they play the Vikings soon as well. So they have a lot of things going on. And another thing I feel like they need to also work on as far as offense, rookie Jahan Dotson only had 1 target in the game. Jahan Dotson started off this year on fire. And yeah, he got slowed down by the injury. But I think he needs to get more looks. You know, Curtis Samuel is a wide receiver, even though I feel like they keep treating him like a running back. And get him some looks as well. Granted, don't get me wrong, I know Terry McLaurin is their number 1, but I think they need to spread it around a little bit more because, granted, the Commanders are playing really physical, and a lot of people are seeing that. Eventually, they're going to have something else that they can come, you know, basically out their back pocket with instead of just that. Again, they play Sunday in New York against the Giants. Last but not least, the Green Bay Packers played the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles defeated the Packers 40-33. Jalen Hurts was 16-28, 153 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. I'm sorry, not rushing. 153 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 17 carries for 157 yards rushing. Miles Sanders had 21 carries for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. Devontae Smith had 4 receptions for 50 yards. A.J. Brown had 4 receptions, 46 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 fumble lost again. Quez Watkins had 3 receptions for 35 yards and 1 touchdown. There are positives and negatives from both of these from the game. Hurts set a new franchise record with 157 rushing yards previously by Mike Vick, who had 130 yards, and he rushed for 103 yards in the first quarter alone. He's the first player in at least the past 30 seasons to have 125 passing yards and 125 rush yards in one half. I mean, it was kind of crazy because I felt like everybody knew he was going to run, except the team that was playing against him, and they didn't know he was going to run or that he could run. And it just kind of looked easy, you know, to be honest, in the first half. He ran for 2 clutch third down conversions that were desperately needed in that time. And he's just been balling out with his legs as well as his arm. But in total, they rushed the ball 49 times for 363 yards, 7.4 yards per carry. This was their highest single game total since 1948. They moved in 4th in the league in rushing yards at 1,788. Miles Sanders has 900 yards on the season and should easily break 1,000 for the first time in his career. He did not have a single rushing touchdown in 2021. Not one, which to me is kind of crazy. But he's already had 8 this year so far. In addition, Jalen Hurts is nearly 600 yards rushing in 2022 and has a chance to eclipse his 784 rushing yards last year. So the rushing game is on point. They're playing really, really well. The things that concern me outside of that is also, it just seems like when one side of the ball is on, the other side of the ball is off. When the offense is on, the defense sometimes seems to be off. And when the defense is on, the offense sometimes to be off. Which is, you know, the tale of 2 games from when they played the Colts last week. The defense played really, really well. Offense couldn't get it started. This week, the offense played really, really well. The defense was pretty stagnant throughout. Granted, there was a big injury that happened during the game. T.J. Gardner-Johnson took a hit to the midsection, ended up having a lacerated kidney, which sounds like it hurts really bad. And he is out indefinitely as of now. Reed Blankenship stepped in for him as a rookie. He did a pretty decent job. Got his first NFL pick on Aaron Rodgers, so I'm pretty sure that's a souvenir somewhere. But I think that, you know, most of it, I believe, is injuries. Jordan Davis still isn't back. Avonte Maddox has been out on IR. Now C.J. Gardner-Johnson will be on IR. So the secondary, as far as safeties, is pretty thin. So hopefully they're able to get, you know, some production from Josiah Scott, has been okay, who also got an interception in this game. But Blankenship's going to have to step up. I believe Marcus Epps is going to have to do more as well. Special teams for real is the thing that nobody's really talking about that's actually playing really bad. Special teams, in the 5 kickoff returns in this game, the other team returned for 172 yards and averaged 34.4 yards per return. setting up short fields for the defense, which again is really kind of what kept them in the game. So the special teams really needs to get it together. And honestly, I think it's going to be more difficult because the defense is now hurt. So they're going to have to pull a lot more people from special teams to actually play on defense. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for them. Last but not least, the Dallas Goedert missing is really, really, really big. It's just the passing game and the rush game. Granted, the rushing game was really good this week because the offensive line was really well, but the passing game is not the same without him out there. Last but not least, if AJ Brown drops another ball or fumbles another ball, I'm gonna have a heart attack. But yeah, the NFC East is NFC East in this year. You know, everybody's in the playoffs. But we'll have another game between two teams with the Commanders and the Giants next week. The Eagles will play the Colts, who rushed the ball really well with Jeff Saturday and Jonathan Taylor. Granted, they didn't rush the ball that much last night in their loss, so I'm hoping they don't play them. I'm tripping. We just played them. I'm sorry. I meant the Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry. We know he rushes the ball. So hopefully the run defense is ready. Hopefully AJ Brown tries to show off against his old team, just not fumble the ball, but we'll see.
All right, from the NFC East to the NBA. Ray, what's going on with the Wizards?
Yeah, they won last night. You know, they were on a 3-game slide. They dropped 2 on the road in Miami, 2 winnable games, and then they just got embarrassed in Boston on Sunday. You know, they returned back home to Capital One and were able to get a win against Timberwolves, where they actually played really great offensively. Porzingis set the tone early, and he just barraged them with threes in the first quarter, and it was off to the races from there. You know, everybody was in on it, you know, but the defense still left a lot to be desired, although they were able to turn Minnesota over a lot and get easy buckets in transition. But yeah, still a lot of work to be done on that side of the basketball. You know, overall, it's just the same story every week, man. It's inconsistency and lack of an identity. You know, it looks like they're still trying to figure out who they are as a team. You know, some of that can be attributed to people in and out of the lineup with injuries. You know, Delon Wright went down a while ago, and you know he's still some weeks away from returning. Bill missed a couple games. Rui's injured; he's missed 4 games now, and they you know, they officially announced he has a bone bruise, and he'll pretty much be day to day until they clear him. So, yeah, man, that's losing DeLon Wright and Rui is big for them because they kind of bolstered the second unit. And you know, we've been seeing lately, even when the starters are off, able to get off to a good start, the bench can't maintain it. So, you know, we've seen a couple games get away from them that way. But even still, they've been in some winnable situations. Some of the things that are happening are inexcusable no matter who's on the court. They're all professionals. They should have at least the basics covered. So, you know, we can talk about guys being out, but at some point, you know, you got to assume some personal responsibility and just do your job, you know. But, you know, they're a game above 500. They've kind of been teetering around there the entire season. You know, if they ever put it together, man, they can do some damage. But you know that remains to be seen if they're able to do that. You know, Porzingis, he'll go through stretches where he looks like what we expect him to look like, and then other times, you know, he's pretty much non-existent. You know, on defense, you know, sometimes he uses his 7'3" frame to cause problems for people at the rim. Other times, you know, he's just bait. And offensively, you know, when he's not relying too much on outside shooting, you know, sometimes he'll go down to the paint and punish smaller defenders. You know, other times he's content to just stand on the perimeter and jack shots. So, yeah, man, they're a frustrating team to watch sometimes. But, you know, other times when they show flashes of what they can be, you get a glimmer of hope. But you know, they just got to be able to put it together for longer stretches than they have so far. if they're able to do that, then, this season has a happy ending. If they're not, it'll be more mediocrity, which will be a shame because they're better than that on paper and in reality. But they just got to put it together, man. They got too much experience and too much talent on this team to be kind of just floating around the 500 mark. But, like we say on Wizards Outlook all the time, every week on the show, it's up to them, man. They give us what to talk about. And, if they turn around, great, we'll talk about that. And if they don't, then we'll have to speak on that as well. But they're back in action tomorrow and they play on Friday as well. So, hopefully they can get some momentum and get some more wins under their belt.
Yeah, especially considering, we're seeing some of the teams, some other teams in the East and the West are starting a little bit slower, starting to kind of get their feet together. So some of that ground that some teams originally have had, it's kind of closing a little bit. The sand is getting a little bit more muddier as the days go by. As Ray said, see you twice this week for Wizards Outlook at the very least. They got a busy schedule, both on the road and at home, especially the upcoming month. And we'll see how things go. And Ray will be sure to update you guys each and every week right here on the Focus TV. We're about to take our first break. When we get back, going to tap on Cardell and talk about, college basketball, GW, see what they have going on. I'm going to got some Maryland women's updates as well. You're watching the Focus TV. Welcome back to the Focus TV. As promised, Cardell, where do you want to get started in college basketball segment?
Yeah, George Washington. They're going to be the focus tomorrow night. I'll get to that in a few, but over the weekend, their defense was outstanding. What Ray just alluded to with the Wizards, what we keep hoping that the Wizards show, GW showed that throughout the entire game, and they went over New Hampshire 75-54. The Colonials used an intense, swarming defense to frustrate, and ultimately pull away in the second half for their fourth win of the season. GW guard Brandon Adams, who posted 25 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists, literally bullied his way to the basket time and time again. All he did was drive, put his shoulder into the smaller guards, and there was nothing they could really do. And that led to him posting the game high 25 points, high flying 400 Dean, added 10 points and 8 rebounds, and EJ Clark contributed 9 points and 2 rebounds off the bench. Matt Horesme led New Hampshire with 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. Nazim Derry posted 15 points, and Clarence Daniels II, New Hampshire's leading scorer this season, contributed 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. To kind of summarize how great GW defense was, they held New Hampshire to 31% shooting from the field, 25% shooting from deep, forced 12 turnovers, and out-rebounded New Hampshire 41-32. They pretty much swept the board when it came to key defensive related statistical categories, and that allowed them to cruise for the most part. Even when they had lows offensively, New Hampshire just couldn't get it going. And that was a great sign to see, especially with who's coming into town tomorrow. They host 3-3 South Carolina tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. There's a lot of activity going on tomorrow. We just got a email talking about the White House got some things going on, so it's going to be a lot of buzz in D.C. tomorrow, especially with this game being circled. All that's been talked about since the preseason. South Carolina is fresh off a 68-53 win over USC Upstate. They bring a talented team that is more formidable than their 3-3 record lets on. South Carolina is led by projected lottery pick, 6'9" freshman forward Gregory Jackson II. Comes in averaging team high 17.2 points, 7.7 rebounds on 46% shooting from the field, and 40% shooting from deep. 6'3" senior guard Chico Carter Jr. is an official scoring guard. He averages 13.8 points, 2.2 assists per game on 48% from the field, and an impressive 53.8% shooting from deep. Also look out for senior forward Hayden Brown, who comes in averaging 10.8 points and 5.8 rebounds per game. Look, South Carolina is big. They have 5 players between 6'8" and 7 feet. They have length, athleticism, and it's versatile as hell. It'll be a good test for GW, and it'll be a good chance to show, the decision makers, the tournament decision makers, that not only are they legit, but you gotta pay more attention to what's going on in the A-10, so to speak. Look, the X factor for me for GW, I know the South Carolina and GW guards gonna rumble with James Bishop and Brandon Adams, both seniors, not play big time basketball. Brandon Adams started out at UConn. James Bishop started out at LSU, so you already know their mindset. They feel like they're high major pro level guards playing in the A-10, so they're not going to be intimidated. So I expect them in the backcourt with South Carolina to go back and forth. Friends where it gets tricky. GW has some talent, but they're very inconsistent at times. And obviously, when you're dealing with a projected lottery pick, I just read off the numbers. Even though he's young, he's ready. When you're dealing with somebody like that, and then you also got other guys that are versatile, 6'8", 6'9", and 7 feet that come in and contribute, their bigs gonna have to come to play, man. And one big specifically is that I'm looking at is Ricky Lendo Jr. because of his versatility and his ability to score, defend multiple positions, rebound, block shots. He leads the team with 2 blocks. He could pass. He could do it all. He's a Swiss Army knife. So if he plays up to his full potential, his full ability, he can be the reason why GW knocks off South Carolina tomorrow. I'm pretty sure he's probably gonna be the main matchup for Gregory Jackson, man. And not only is he gonna have to hold his own and contain the youngster, but he's gonna have to deliver offensively. I know he's averaging about 8 points. He's going to have to get up between 12, 13, 14, 15 points. And also, I think he's going to have to hit a few threes. Right now, he's struggling. Last year, he shot 37% from deep. You know what I mean? So that forced bigs to have to come out and contest. So far this year, he's struggling. He's shooting 16% on 2 of 12 shooting. But he's shooting a career high from the free throw line as well, 83%. He's shooting respectable 44% from the field. So he got it going everywhere else. It's just a matter of him hitting a few threes where, let's say, Gregory Jackson's guarding him. He has to come out on the perimeter now, and that opens things up for the Bishops and the Brandon Adams, and also a freshman guard to keep track of Max Edwards, who's also another kid who's a transfer from Kansas State. Like I said, same mindset. Feel like they're a high major pro level player playing in A-10. So, and he's never been afraid of the light. So he's actually one of those players that love the lights too much. You got to keep him contained, like keep him chill. You know what I mean? So I expect him to be fired up as well. But, Ricky Lendo is going to have to be the guy, both ends. He's going to have to make his presence felt. If he does, then GW has a great shot at winning this game. If he doesn't, Gregory Jackson can pretty much show why he's projected to be not only a lottery pick, but a top 5 pick, because he could be dominant and totally just be the reason why South Carolina dominates this game tomorrow. So it'll be fun to watch. I already know there's a whole lot of NBA personnel that'll be in the building. So, it'll be a fun game to see.
Definitely looking forward to it. Like you said, a lot going on tomorrow night. Maryland women, talked to you guys last week about them before they were heading to their Fort Myers tip-off. Now that it has concluded. They went 2-1. They dropped their opening game against DePaul, 76-67. They rebounded with wins against Towson and then Pitt, winning those games 81-70 and 87-63, respectively. The Terps did not shoot the ball very well against DePaul at all. Like, they were ice cold for a half. They were able to kind of fight back into it, even took the lead in the fourth, but DePaul took control of the game with a 9-0 run midway through the final period. Their shooting returned a little bit against Towson. They shot 49% from the floor, 35 from 3. Diamond Miller had 20 in that game, while Cheyenne Sellers and Faith Masonis added 14 apiece. Maryland got 23 points from Abby Myers and then 17 points from Brene Alexander in their win over Pitt. They put up 36 points in the third quarter to blow open that game. The Terps shot 43% from deep in that final contest, the one against Pitt. They after a busy weekend, a busy holiday weekend, things don't slow down. We're rolling right into conference play. However, they got a brief stop at South Bend. Be taking on Notre Dame on the road on Thursday. Then they return home to host the Big Ten Conference opener against Nebraska on Sunday. 9-4-50 coming up. Jamal Hayward with this week's breakdown of 3 dribble move. Again, is a breakdown for 3 dribble move that'll be followed by our second break. And when we get back, we'll get into rapid fire. You're watching the Focus TV.
Today we're going to start with going over a 3 dribble combo move here from the top of the key. I'm going to show it to you guys going both ways. 3 simple dribbles. Also implement some footwork as well also to get the defense all balanced within this move as well also. So we're going to break it down step by step so you guys can learn it, so you guys can understand it, so you guys can implement it and utilize it within your games. So start at the top of the key with a simple jab step, okay? Now with my jab step, jab towards the rim, not sideways. You want to get that defense thinking that you actually might go to that direction that you're jabbing and go the opposite way if that's what we're doing, okay? You don't want to go jab sideways because that's not where the rim is at, all right? So, my jab step here is arm to engage that defender. Now, after that jab step, I'm going to jab again, but now I'm moving the ball in the motion that I want to go to the basket, but I'm really not. So, if I was going to the basket, this is the motion, okay? Now, after my jab step, okay? I jab again, then I pull the ball back, all right? So again, I said I was moving that ball in that motion that I want to go to the basket. So after I pull that ball back, aggressively, I have a slight pause. Then I go back again. When I go back again, it has to be quick. So here, pause, go back again quick. Now, that's 2 dribbles. So after that, pull back, then I go back again, step that right foot over for a jump shot. Okay, I step that right foot over for a crossover into a jump shot. So, jab, here, shot. Let's break it down. Other way. Jab. Pull back, go. Jump shot. Simple move, 3 dribbles, some footwork, get the defender out the way.
Welcome back to the Focus TV. I want to thank Jamal Hayward for this week's 9-450 breakdown. All right, Cardo, what you got for us in rapid fire this week? Got time for some good questions.
Yeah, we're going to start on the NFL side. It's been nearly 2 years since Deshaun Watson last played an NFL game, a 41-38 loss to the Titans to end the Texans 2020 season. Just a few months later, we all know the first of 26 sexual misconduct lawsuits was filed against the quarterback in March of 2021. Now Watson is set to return to the field on Sunday in a Browns uniform against his former team in Houston. And Tony Busby, the lawyer for 25 of the plaintiffs, will be in attendance with approximately 10 of the women who filed against the embattled player, according to The Athletic. With Watson fresh off his 11-game suspension and still facing 2 active civil suits, Busby told The Athletic that he will attend the game with bells and whistles on. He invited the 25 women, though some have said they want to attend. But the message those attending reportedly want to send Watson is, you think you put us behind you, but you think you put us behind you, but we are still here. Octavia, we're going to start on you with them going out the way to keep this going on, even though most of them have been settled. So what are your thoughts on this situation?
I'm sorry. It's just a little weird. I don't know. It's like to me, I feel like the one thing that you should want to do is move past something like that that's happened to you. And I understand, wanting to make the other person heard or let them know how wrong they did you. But I'm like you're never going to move on if you're like, are y'all paying to get, like, I'm sure the women haven't paid, but the lawyer, something like, say you're paying to go to a game because y'all, like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, are they going to do a demonstration? Like, I don't know. And it's like, I always feel weird when I have like these type of thoughts because I'm a woman, and I think people think I'm supposed to think a certain way, and like I guess always side on the woman's side. Like I don't know. I just personally think it's kind of weird. I just feel like everybody does something regrettable in their lives, regardless if you did it once or if you did it 27 times, like they are accusing this man of doing. If he has settled with y'all, then that means you have taken whatever he has offered you. I mean, the people that he settled with, it's not like most of them. I don't know if all of them are completely, like, definitely correct me if I'm wrong. I know some of them filed like charges against him, like try to get like actual charges against him as opposed to filing like civil suits. So it's like, you don't want him to go to jail. You just want him to pay you for your pain and suffering, which he's done. And I'm not diminishing what they feel and how they want to address it. I just personally think it's weird. Like, I wouldn't want to constantly completely relive this over and over and over again. We've already relived it for 2.5, 3 years, it seems like. So I just really want everybody out of the situation to get some peace and some closure. I don't think this is the best way to get peace and closure. I don't know if they in therapy and their therapist told them to do this to cleanse their mind or something. I don't know. I just think it's a little weird. I just think it should be over and done with. Like, if that's something that you're dealing with to yourself, let it be dealt with yourself. Like, why does it have to be in an article? Granted, I get it. He's an NFL player. And I just think that's really why it's dragged out this long, to be completely honest. This is famous. Like, had it just been Joe Schmo down the street, we wouldn't be talking about this much. But I understand, the ramifications of being an athlete, a celebrity, whatever you want to call it. I just hope they find peace and move on. I just don't understand how this is the way to do it. But I guess it's neither here or there for me to understand.
Okay, Ray.
Yeah, this does seem a little strange. Like, I guess I'm not understanding what their objective is. Yeah, it's not like they're going to be on the sideline. Like, I'm sure he won't even know that they're there besides being told. Like, I just don't understand the purpose. Like Octavia said, man, you settled in court. So at that point, this book is closed. From a legal standpoint, I'm sure there's some emotional baggage that they still have to deal with, but I'm unsure of how doing this addresses that. So it's almost becoming a spectacle to drag these women there. I don't know what the objective is. It just doesn't seem like anything productive will come out of this. And I'll just leave it there.
Wilson?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't understand what Mr. Busby hopes to get out of this. And even, maybe if there's a light in where somebody sees these actions as, well-intentioned, it just leaves room for it leaves room for people to look at it the way that we're talking, and that's because of what he's doing. Everything that happened, no matter how heinous it is, everything that's happened or allegedly happened, whatever you want to call it, like you guys said, it's been settled. I don't understand the purpose of bringing a group of these women to the game. I just personally don't. I'm trying to wrap my head around that part of it. I don't really understand that part of it at all, specifically that part. As far as anything else with, going to trial or it resulting in a settlement, I get every bit of that. This, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, for me, I just think he's just being vindictive through the women. I think it's more self-serving than for them. Like you said, it said in the report, the cases have been settled. That means it should be over. Move on with your life. And my understanding is if somebody harass you so bad, or there's so much trauma, like how they were saying, why would I want to have any connection to you whatsoever? I don't even want to see you on TV. If I'm watching ESPN, your name come up, I would turn the channel. I don't want to. I don't want to even acknowledge your existence. The fact that they're going to this game should put into question certain things that happen possibly as well. You should start looking at them funny. And like now, the women that you notice a select group of women was like, "Nah, I'm good." That means they want to just move on with their lives and stuff like that. They're tired of this. But these other group of women just seem like they just want to be vindictive. And unfortunately, we've seen too many cases where a lot of women are like this, man. And also, I think this lawyer is just using them for his own personal gain for a myriad of reasons. Possibly get more cases, more more benefits somehow from his way. You know what I'm saying? Get more cameras on him, more eyes on his law firm, get his name out there even more. And it's just sleazy to me. They're just sleazy. Look, I think it's not going to help anything. If anything, it's going to backfire. And then at the end of the day, what you think you're going to be louder than a whole stadium of people? Like, they're going to just hear your words, your heckles. Like, oh my God, they're in it. Like, what he going to see you in the crowd and throw 50 interceptions or something? Like, what do you think is going to happen? You know what I mean? It's going to be a rowdy crowd anyway, because he's coming back and he left. You know what I'm saying, on bad terms. So he already mentally prepared for that. It's his first game. I'm pretty sure he got more things to worry about, but it's just sleazy to me. And that's just the best way I could put it, man. But many lawyers are sleazy, so it is what it is. Moving on. Aces star Kelsey Plum voiced her displeasure with the WNBA's current pay structure and advocated for a larger revenue share from the NBA on Monday. Quote, "We're not asking to get paid what the men get paid." Plum told the Residency Pod, "We're asking to get paid the same percentage of revenue shared. International salaries have far exceeded that of the WNBA for years, as players often have elected to play overseas during the WNBA's off-season for additional pay. Overseas players' salaries could exceed 7 figures, something that does not happen in the WNBA. For the upcoming 2023 season, WNBA-based salaries will range from $62,285 to $234,936,000, according to a recent story published in The Athletic. Beginning in the 2021 season, WNBA players now benefit from a 50-50 split of revenue with the league. In addition, as part of the WNBA and WNBPA's new collective bargaining agreement that went into effect in 20, top earning players can now make $750,000 when including base salaries, awards, and bonuses. Additionally, the Commissioner Cup prize pool is $500,000. The bonus pool is doubled to $500,000, while the league's marketing deals amount to $1.5 million. Ray, we're gonna start with you. Do you agree with Kelsey?
Yeah, I mean, I think she stated very plainly what she wants to happen. I'm glad that she kind of broke down what a lot of them have been saying, because I think it's a misconception, and people just get on social media and basically just be ignorant, and they'll post the memes about have Breonna Stewart or whomever side by side with LeBron, and she said, I don't, realistically, I don't think I should get paid as much as LeBron, which, is impossible at this point, but that's been the message the whole time, but people just haven't been listening. We have this conversation all the time. There's definitely more that can be done. More that can be done for them from a pay standpoint. And another thing that really shocked me when she said she doesn't make any money off the jersey sales. Like, that was like that's crazy to me, man. And that's low hanging fruit, man. Like, they selling the jersey with her name on it. She should get a piece of that. Like, so yeah, it a lot of the energy spent speaking about women's basketball and women's sports in general, just going straight to the coverage and all those things. But I think people need to dedicate some of that energy to, the WNBA themselves and how to stop shooting themselves in the foot and do better by their players and just make the situation better for everyone, because they're not doing everything right, man. And I know it's a slow train. They have made improvements in recent years, but they're in a constant state of self-sabotage, man, and that's something that needs to be fixed. Especially, I'm sure it's been magnified with this situation with Brittany Griner, and who knows how that's going to affect, people deciding to go overseas in the future. But yeah, I mean, she was pretty straightforward with it, and I don't think she spoke out of turn at all.
Wilson.
Piggyback off Ray. I think she did a great job being very clear and concise, since a lot of people like to take clips and go out their way to take things out of context. Where, I'm sure all of us have had discussions with someone before where they're like, man, they can't get what the men play. I mean, obviously nobody said that's what they wanted to get. So I don't understand how you walked away thinking that, because no one ever said that. But I think a revenue split is a good start. But like Ray said, there's a lot of work. The league still has a long way to go. There's a lot of work that needs to be done between the players and the league, especially as far as the pay goes. But we've covered the league for a while. We've seen some stumbles and bumbles here from from marketing decisions at times, and those stumbles and bumbles sometimes they not sometimes they've definitely had an impact on those things. But there are players say they don't get anything back on the cut of their jerseys is crazy. And then not to mention how hard it is sometimes for fans to get WNBA jerseys. Just they have ways to go, but that's definitely an area they need to start with is the revenue split. It needs to get where it needs to get to, and the least you could. There's work to be done. I'm trying to find a nice way to say it.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I think you both kind of covered it. Like, honestly, this conversation is so draining because I feel like we have the conversation so much, and nothing really has changed. I don't think anything Kelsey said was out of pocket or something that doesn't need to be looked at and decided upon and changed. Because, like you both have already said, like, nobody is saying that they think they deserve NBA money. But they should be. It's just, to me, for the amount of work and time that they put in as professional players, it's kind of disheartening to see that. I know people who work around the corner that make more than they do, and it's kind of hard, when you want them to do all of these things as a league, and they don't feel like they're being compensated for it enough. I mean, granted, we know the whole inequity of pay thing is, I feel like, is always going to be a situation until somebody does something. Now, what, I don't know. I do believe the revenue share is a good start. And like I said, like you both have already said, the league itself definitely has a lot more work to do. I just hope that it's not 2035 and we're still talking about this. It's pretty much my hopes. It's just like, I feel like it's been a broken record year after year. I feel like we touch on it and then it goes away, and then somebody says something and it comes back up and then it kind of goes away. So I mean, honestly, I think some of that is still on the players too. Like, they have to be willing to always talk about it, because I feel like that's the only way that you're going to ever get anybody to do something. But they also got to do something about it too. I don't know what that is, what that would entail, but something's got to change. I'm just tired of hearing them talk about it at this point.
Yeah, I always want the ladies to get paid what they deserve to get paid, but I dug deeper. I had some people who kind of work in the front offices of the NBA, just about expenses and stuff. And this is the other side that, I think a lot of people don't consider, because they're only looking at the player side, which I do think they do deserve more. But I just don't, talking to front office personnel, I just don't think right now it's possible. And what I'm saying is, fine, you give them more money, 50-50 split down the road. Other things will suffer. Like, for instance, and I know this is a fact, the Mystics have to rent the practice facility to practice at ESA. That's not like it's all good. They have to rent that every time they practice. I don't know how much that is. Obviously, that's not my deal. That's their business. They're not going to release that type of information. But in doing so, I'm pretty sure it costs a pretty penny. Keep all those lights on, open the doors, scanners to get in the locker room and all that. You want to get extra practice time. Want to go in the cafeteria, get some food, and get treatment and weight room. None of that. It's not cheap. You know what I'm saying? So let's say all the fine. You get the ladies the 50-50 split. Cool. Now, how would that affect that? And that's the Mystics who have a practice facility. What about the WNBA teams that don't have that? They renting practice time with local colleges or high schools or something like that. They're already flying. They're not even flying private. You know what I'm saying? It's just certain things that I don't think a lot of people are equating. You know what I mean? And then you add in the fact of how much you generate to overcome all that. Mm-hmm. Is it realistic that they can get a 50-50 split and still have everything function as a league? Because all right, fine, you getting your money, but then you're gonna be complaining, saying like, "Yo, man, why are we practicing here, man? Come on, the men ain't gotta do all this." Well, the men are bringing in multi-billion dollars, but once upon a time they weren't doing that. So guess what they were doing? To get in where they fit in too. And I just think the ladies need to understand that's where y'all at. It is what it is. Y'all got to continue to grow the game, just like the Bill Russells, the Big O's, the Jerry West. They had to continue to grow the game and stuff. They had to go get second jobs too all season. That's just where the WNBA is, and you have to build the league. You know what I mean? And you can't keep comparing your situation to the men because y'all are not there yet. It's just real. It's no other way of putting it. They're working with billions. Y'all barely working with single, like 7 digits as a league. You see what I'm saying? Players, it's one player in the league. Like LeBron is getting paid more in 1 year than that, like triple the amount the entire league makes. And they're looking at that like, well, y'all can afford that. Look at all the players. Y'all should be able to get some of that money. And the players like, owners like, look at it, dog. We work for ours. Like, hold on, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all can't be volunteering our dollars to y'all situation. Like, nah, bro. So I'm just saying, look at both sides. I'm one of them people that just don't pick one side and just roll with it. I like to walk in other people's shoes as well. And that way I feel you come to a better conclusion. But it just may not be realistic right now. Fine, you get a little bit of money, you get a percentage off your jersey sales, whatever. But let's be real. How many people you see walking around with a Kelsey Plum jersey? Let's keep it a buck. You may see it during the game, during the season, here and there, but you ain't seeing it now. I'm seeing LeBron James. I'm seeing all types of jerseys, NBA jerseys walking around, regardless, all year round. You see what I'm saying? It's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? And they got to continue to build it so that one day, some little girl that's a little girl now down the line, they won't have this issue. And I think they just have to accept that. You keep pushing, you keep fighting, get what you deserve, but you also have to be realistic with what you can get. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, you pick the wrong people off, but then they're not going to, those calls, they won't pick those calls up anymore. You know what I'm saying? And that's just counterproductive, man. You know, the practice fee alone, I mean, how would you pay for that? And you need that to be able to maximize your team and put a good product on the floor. Because if you trash, ain't nobody trying to hear about what you should be getting paid anyway, though. Like, yo, step your game up first. Then come and holler at us. You know what I'm saying? So it's just something to be pushed, man. We'll see how it go. Got a couple more, then we're gonna get out of here. This is an interesting one that I believe Wilson, being a soccer guy, has expertise on. Iran has threatened families of players on the Iranian World Cup team with violence and torture if the players don't behave in a match versus the United States men's national team. World Cup security source told Kali that Iran has a large number of security eyeing how the players act while Qatar. Additionally, the source said Iran coach Carlos Feroz met with Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps officers following these threats, but it is unclear whether that was what the meeting was about. Prior to Iran's first World Cup match versus England last week, the team did not sing along with the national anthem while it was played. It was the team's way of showing solidarity with protesters in Iran who were demonstrating against the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who died from injuries sustained in police custody after improperly wearing her headscarf. Since September, more than 450 people have been killed and more than 1,800 arrested for protesting, per the human rights activists in Iran. According to Kylie source, Iran first offered presents and cards to the players before the team's game versus England, but then resorted to threats following the game. Before Iran's second World Cup match versus Wales on Friday, players appeared to sing along with their national anthem. Wilson, you the resident soccer analyst expert. What are your thoughts on that?
It's just a nasty situation. Yeah, before the first game that they played, the players didn't all participate in singing their national anthem. After the game, they talked about it. They talked about it's pretty much trying to show solidarity with the rest of their fellow countrymen and women back at home. Like we're going through some real things right now. Like, yeah, I know it's a World Cup, but low key, like, there's some things a little bit more important than that at the moment. And I wish I could say I wasn't shocked at the response. Shocked about hearing what you just said. But it's just a reminder, like, this country, for a lot of everything that goes on, right, wrong, and different. Things like, participating in Olympics and how people place and things like that, it's trivial compared to what other athletes and other nations go through. Like, very trivial. Like, you lose here, you come back, you just get clowned, man. Life will go on. If someone else will fail, and we'll clown them too. But for some folks, it's literally life and death. And I just, my heart's gone to not only everybody in Iran, but it's, the players. Like, you're being watched. Like, you never know what message is being sent down from whoever, whenever, about what. And how, like, think about, could you concentrate on a game? Your loved ones could potentially be in danger because you weren't showing enough, enough
country pride.
I couldn't find the right way to show it, but, like, I'm sorry, but me personally, just being a human, last damn thing on my mind is this match. Mm-hmm. Just be honest, like, I just don't care. And again, you talked about that number, and that's just the number for whatever reports, the number of people that have lost their life, they've been reported, what have you. And again, a lot of times, not to say this exact thing happens a lot, but things like this do happen around that sport, especially as the competition's heightened. And when it hits the shores, when it hits our shores, people kind of like, oh man, that's crazy. It's, it's a third world country or whatever, and dismiss it and keep it moving. But, like, bro, that's nuts. You're there to compete for the country. And again, how could you how would you feel right? Some folks don't want to go to work if supervisors are talking wild the day before. You talk about, like, this is like life and death. And we talk about a match. Like, I hope everybody involved gets back safely or gets out safely, what have you. I know they're coming to a close with the group stage. I believe the United States beat Iran earlier today, 1-0. So, just, my thoughts my heart is with those players and their families, and their fellow countrymen and women. Like, that's tough. That is ridiculous. Folks, we talk about pressure in sports, whatever. Now, that's pressure. That's what that is. That's the meaning in every sense of the word.
Yeah, and also put in context how delicate the situation is with Brittany Griner. Everybody don't pay attention here. Like, I think, Wilson, me and you talked about it, and Ray, to a certain extent. Putin put the word out, like, the more y'all talk about this, the more how life is going to be harder for her over here. And people didn't listen. And they kept doing specials and pressing the W. That's why I'm like, the arrogance of this country sometimes is mind-boggling, because it's like, yo, the rules over here don't apply all across the world at all. They don't care. He said chill with that. That don't mean you forget. You still try. But clearly he's using this as a political move, man. You know what I'm saying? So he told you to chill. He got the chips. If you want her back home, chill. They ain't do it, so look where she at. So it's wild. Even overseas and stuff like that, you hear that, man. Certain countries, ref make a bad call, he come up missing. Players miss the game-winning shot. Better run about it, dog. Get about it. If players don't get paid, I mean, you can go to the front office and complain all you want, but it's owned by a Russian mob and stuff like that. You may come up missing. So you be like, you know what? Keep the bread. I'm out. You just go back home. You just got to take the L. A lot of horror stories, but Octavia, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I'm not going to say much, but that's just crazy. But I mean, like you said, like I've heard stories of having friends who like play ball overseas, and they were supposed to get paid a certain amount of money and they never got paid. And like you said, just having to kind of, it's like, all right, I guess, or deal with it when you get home and you got to go through your agent or something like that. So, I mean, that's just crazy. Like, sports are supposed to bring people together. As we know, that doesn't always happen. So like Wilson also said, like, I just pray for everybody's safety, because that's kind of crazy. Like, I'm probably like, nah, I'm gonna sit this one out. Like, I ain't gonna play. I ain't got time for none of this nonsense. But like you said, like, it's crazy that's some people's like everyday life. So I just hope everybody's okay.
All right.
Yeah, I hope this situation puts things in perspective for a lot of people. Like, we just went through a whole thing where people jumped to defend somebody that didn't even do their due diligence and posted something reckless and wouldn't even have the decency to say, you know what, I wasn't fully informed, my bad. And they're trying to persecute him and blah blah blah. No, this is persecution. This is being attacked for your beliefs. This doesn't compare to that situation. Like, I don't. So that's why, like, when people try to hail these athletes as freedom fighters or whatever, social justice heroes, like, dog, you can tweet and say whatever you want here and go on and live your life. If you do that in another country, you won't be here tomorrow. Like, if some of these athletes said the things they said about heads of state in other countries, we would not see them. Like, that status don't matter. Like, yeah, America, this country's jacked up, no doubt about it. But we have freedoms other people don't have, plain and simple, man. Like, so I think people just need to take that into account when they get into these situations and have these discussions, because it could be a whole lot different. Thankfully, we don't live in that climate. Definitely prayers goes out to all those people that are being affected, man, because that's, like Wilson said, I couldn't imagine. Like, I'm not worried about scoring goals when it's a gun in my family's back, and if I make the wrong move, then the worst happens. So, yeah, man, I just hope people kind of see what's going on, and the next time something happens over here, they rethink that, and maybe they approach the situation differently, because you encouraging people to take liberties with things they wouldn't have the luxury to do in another place, and then you standing behind it like it's heroic. Like, nah, dog, you're just championing stupidity at this point, and you need to understand that people in other places are going through real things, and they don't have the rope that we have over here, plain and simple, man. Like, so. And like Octavia and Cardell touched on, man, I've heard the overseas horror stories. Like, it's not nothing to play with, man. So, but yeah, this is a terrible situation. Hopefully, everything works out for the best.
Yeah, keep things in perspective. Instead of tossing Nikes, trying to advocate for a player who's playing in Nikes. Last question. Hornets forward Gordon Hayward has been diagnosed with a fractured left shoulder. His agent Mark Bartlesine said, told ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski Friday night. However, it seems like Hayward's wife actually broke the news a few hours before, doing so with a pointed message on her IG. after Hayward was ruled out of Friday's game against the Timberwolves with what the Hornets labeled a left shoulder contusion. Robin Hayward took to social media to set the record straight. She said that her husband was actually dealing with a fractured scapula, which has caused him tremendous amounts of pain in recent games. He actually has a fractured scapula that they had him play with last game. That's why he couldn't move his arm up in the last game. Everyone who knows Gordon knows he has one goal, and that's to win and play the right way. He's the most truthful person you find. If he's not going to play, it's for something more than a bruise. Robin continued on a separate slide a short while later, expressing her frustration that the team did not accurately describe the injury to the public. Just to clarify, since the team doesn't say it's a fracture in the shoulder, which is a broken bone, I'm over them not protecting players. Just was talking with the young player's mom, and she was saying the same thing. Hayward missed 8 consecutive games earlier this month with what was believed to be a shoulder bruise. He returned to play in Charlotte's last 3 games, including Wednesday's 107-101 victory over Philadelphia. Hayward, 32, is now considered to be week to week. According to Wojnarowski, we wanted to go further testing to determine what the next steps in his recovery will be. Octavia, back on you. What do you think about this?
I see both sides of it. I see her side being the wife that has to be at home and see him in pain and feel like she has to protect him. I get that. On the other side of it, I still feel like some people should kind of, granted, this is just my thoughts. Like, he's a grown man, you know, he could defend himself if need be. It could have been a myriad of reasons of why they didn't dive into the actual reasoning behind, you know, the injury. You know, granted, I don't know either. So that's what I'm like. I can see both sides. I mean, she probably just fed up and just want to say what she want to say, but unless, you know, I just feel like sometimes we get too emotional about it, and not able to take a step back and say, like, is this really something that I need to go off on social media when I know that everybody who goes off on social media ends up on a blog or ends up on somebody's news cycle? Do I really need that attention on me and my husband for his career as well? Because even though you feel like you're defending him, some people can look at it as like, looks like we have another overbearing situation. Maybe we don't want to deal with him and having, you know, somebody who always has to say something, blah, 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 whatever you want to call it. I just think some things aren't that big a deal to go into, you know, deep detail about, but I understand what she's saying too. She wants to protect her husband. So I just think, you know, pick your battles. If this was a battle she wanted to pick, I guess this was the one.
Right.
The wives and girlfriends got to put the phone down, man.
I agree.
Like that's not your place. Like, you know, in all serious, man, like that, you can be jeopardizing a lot with your thumbs. Just talk to your husband, have him go through the proper channels to address it. It's definitely a serious issue if they feel like he was, you know, purposefully misdiagnosed or something like that. That doesn't need to be handled in public. I don't know, man. All I'm gonna say is my wife would know better, because that's crazy. Like, you just airing out the franchise like that on social media, and for what? Like, what do you think that's going to accomplish? They're just going to be like, oh, okay, she's upset, we were wrong, and issue a statement. It doesn't go that way. Like, but you know, I can definitely understand being frustrated about something like that, because again, that's his health and his livelihood potentially being affected. But that's out of pocket, man.
Wilson.
Yeah, that's not to say that, like, you know, all teams are perfect with how they deal with injuries. You know, we've seen many cases across sports where, you know, athletes are misdiagnosed with injuries, and it can, you know, misdiagnose injuries can really have a long-term effect on that athlete's career. That said, you know, you don't go put, this isn't the way to combat that. You don't go public with anything like this. Obviously, if that's what happened, sure, address it. Fight it. Like Ray said, there's a way to do it, but publicly is the worst way and should never be the option. Honestly, that's the one big no there. You just don't do that, and that is what she in fact did. And this is the ugly part of it. Sports is a business. Sports are business, are a business rather. Sometimes things like this, you don't know how this could affect something going forward. Decisions about considering his age, do you hold on to him in a little while? B, do you move him sooner than you thought? This is impact a trade you might have had on the table already, because how does it's a business, so many different layers to it. And this is why I like going public like this, even if you are in the right. There's a case to be made for how things were handled. Publicly is not the way to go. That's my big thing there.
Yeah, I'm not trying to sound sexy, but women got to learn woman business. Just straight up. If he's unconscious or something, and he in a coma, and he literally just cannot function on his own and speak up for his own, then yes, you have every right to speak up and stuff, because he just can't. But right now, when he's fully able to open his mouth and he hasn't, you gotta fall back. It's just too much of that. It's too much of that crime. You can compromise his career, especially for a guy who has been injury prone throughout his entire career. Other teams see that. If Mike and them get pissed, be like, bro, you ain't helping us win anyway. Poof, power, be gone. Other teams like, nah, we don't want to put up with the mouth. You look, man. Look, you gotta chill. Look, people being associated with a front office now, you got to chill. Like, just because they don't speak, don't mean they don't have egos. It don't mean they don't have tempers. It don't mean they won't get your ass. They just won't do it public. They do it in a professional way. And her just saying those things is not helping anything. Gordon Hayward been in the league how long? Well, since he was 20, he's 32 with 12 years or something. He know how to speak up. His agent can do that. That's why he has that. His representation of him can speak up. You just continue to support him and roll with him. Just like if you was fighting, going at it with a woman, he would pick and choose. I'm pretty sure he would be hesitant to get in that, because that's a woman battle and it ain't fair for me to jump in there unless it get out of hand or something like that. It's just certain things. But like Ray said, man, you grown man, bro. If he ain't speaking up, why should you? We've seen that a couple times over the last couple of years with the wife of the resident franchise player here. And they're just like, you need to chill. You know what I'm saying? We saw it with Steph Curry wife. Her blurring out stuff. You ain't heard from her since. It's just, look, man, you got to chill. You got to chill, because you can make matters worse, man. And at the end of the day, it comes down to results. He's not a bad player, but he's not impacting winning with Charlotte. And then it was already rumblings early in the season that he would gladly be happy with getting traded, because they were trying to associate him with the ladies, and his people from his camp like, hell yeah, we would leave now, bro. Like, and we all know how the man upstairs that own that team temporary. You don't want those problems, though. So you have to run be in the G League or something like that. Then what you gonna complain about? So it's just a way to do things, man. Always handle things with professionalism and stuff, even when the team is not, because you're not looking ahead. You're looking at it now. Think about post-playing career when he may want to get in the front office or coach, if that's his goal or something like that. People will be like, nah, because we don't want to deal with your wife. We'll be in the damn draft room and she leak out, yeah, we're going to draft Victor Wembanyama. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, you see what I'm saying? And it's just it's a right way and wrong way to do things. I'm just tired of people just feeling like because they're emotional, they can do the wrong thing and then act like a victim when the consequence comes. Just chill, man. Just chill out. He hurt. Let that man rehab, get that joint together, left shoulder, like they said, and hopefully he come back hooping, man. I mean, damn, even Bball had to shut the hell up eventually, right?
Oh, he been gone for a while. I forgot about him. Exactly. Long on the most like, hey, bro, you got chill.
Exactly, dog.
I haven't heard him in a while. I forgot about him, to be honest.
Exactly. Had to shut off. Like, don't play games, bro. Everyone be about the league, and then what? So, just life lessons, man. Stay out, grown man business.
Thank you.
bothered.
I want to thank y'all for tuning in this week. As a reminder, you watch the Focus TV every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. on Roku. If you have Roku television device, all you have to do is type in the Focus TV in the search box, double tap OK, it adds the channel. Obviously, gets the weekly installment of the Focus TV and anything else we have going on. For local residents without Roku, show airs Friday nights at 10 p.m. on DCTV and Saturday at 4:30 p.m. on DCTV. If you're outside the city, can't watch it on DCTV, you can go to dctv.org and you're able to tune in and watch it there. Just stream it. So there's several viewing options. And as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We look forward to speaking with you next week. And we have no idea what's going to transpire between tonight and next time we're taping for next week's show. So y'all have a great one.